welcome to Hope Matters, a new video program brought to you by Mount Olive Lutheran Church here in Santa Monica, California. My name is Pastor Eric Schaefer. I'm the senior pastor here at Mount Olive. And on Hope Matters, each week we talk to people, local and from around the country and the world, about hope in their lives. Today, our guest is Darci Niva, who is a member of Mount Olive and is also the executive director of the Westside Coalition for Hunger, Health, and Homelessness, and which has its office here at Mount Olive and has its meetings at Mount Olive. And actually, Mount Olive is the fiscal sponsor of the coalition. So they're definitely heavily involved in our congregation's life and in this community's life. Welcome, Darci. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about the coalition. It has, it's kind of, a lot of people don't know about the work of the coalition. So here's your chance to tell more people about it.
Absolutely. We are currently at 58 members in the coalition. We just actually got the Baha'i Church or Baha'i Center that has joined the coalition. But we have social service agencies, governmental agencies, faith-based organizations and community groups that are all members of the Westside Coalition. We're just starting an individual membership with the coalition, which is very, very reasonable, but it helps to partner together for a greater impact. Anyway, we work together collaboratively on issues like Pastor said, of housing, hunger, and health are our primary pillars of the coalition. And, the issue of homelessness is so complex that it really does take everybody's involvement. There's no one agency that has everything in-house to deal with the problem. And so we work together and we organize collaborative events and trainings and education, things like the Project Connect events in the winter shelter, where we bring in tons of service providers and faith organizations that have done donation drives to be able to do sort of a one-stop shopping for the people, for the 160 people that go to the shelter every night when the winter shelter is happening on the west side. So it's those types of things are what we do.
Oh yes, and supporting our amazing agencies and especially our frontline workers. I guess, Darci, if there's anything I'm most proud of, it is that the coalition does a lot of events and activities to support those people who are often young, just starting out, often not paid a whole lot, often take a lot of crap for what they're doing on the front lines. And the coalition supports these people, young and old, who are working every day with the homelessness on our streets. Darci, I think people sometimes get a little overwhelmed by the problem, but despite what you see on the streets, there are an awful lot of people housed every night, aren't there?
There are. And right now we are housing more people than we ever have collectively. There are resources because of the Measure H and Prop HHH. And we are, the problem is big. And we know that it is. There was an increase in the homeless count. But it is, here comes my dog shuffling, if you can hear that in the background. This is my chubby little English bulldog. Anyway, the people that are working on this issue are doing remarkable work, getting people indoors and, working day and night, literally, to address this problem. It's, that's one of the things that makes me hopeful, is the caliber of people that I work with. I have the opportunity to work with many of our elected officials, and I'm blown away at how much they care about people and how dedicated they are to working on the problems. And the agencies, the executive directors, the leaderships, and like you said, just even entry-level staff are fabulous people that care deeply about addressing, these problems that unexpectedly happened to somebody, which landed them on the streets. Never thought in a million years that it would happen to them. And so they're dedicating their lives to one by one encountering and solving some of these problems.
So that's wonderful. Yeah, I know that you and I end up in the same kind of situations often of having to counter misinformation about the homeless issue in our community. And it's understandable because people see all these people in the streets and don't understand. The recent count, showing that the largest growing group are entire families and seniors. And they're not people who come here because it's warm. They've been here 5 years or more. These are our brothers and sisters, our residents, our neighbors, and the fact that there's still too many veterans on the streets, can cause me to not have some hope. So what is it? I mean, I understand that you just said it, that you find hope in these people that are trying to do this work, and even in our political leaders who really want to make a difference. But what do you, what gets you up in the morning, Darci, in a hopeful way?
Well, I feel very privileged that I work in a job that is very meaningful. I'm proud of the people that I work with, and I love my job. I absolutely love my job. And so that's one of the things that I feel just so privileged that it's meaningful work. And that's why I really enjoy going to work.
That's important, isn't it? To have something. Well, I watch your work, my friend, and what you do does make a difference, and people see that in you and then in each other, hopefully, and are inspired to do more. And then it's just been such a blessing to have you also as a member of our congregation, and also have you here at Mount Olive and in your office when we can be here during non-COVID times, and just a privilege. So as you look ahead, this is a difficult time. The evils of racism coming to a head in our nation and around the world, the COVID-19, the homeless issue. As you look ahead, what gives you hope for the future?
Well, let me give you a little bit of my background. Okay, can I do that?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version, so it'll be quick. 40 years ago, I married my best friend. And shortly after we got married, we decided that we were going to buy a bus and travel around the country like hippies, singing and preaching about the love of Jesus. And we literally did that. And we raised our kids in that bus. I absolutely loved doing that. I married a musician. I wasn't one, but I became one. And we traveled and just, it was an amazing way to raise our children. Anyway, at one point, some of our friends said that they wanted us to start a church. Well, we didn't go to seminary, but our home church had a Bible college, which we got a degree in theology, although it's not accredited. And we had gone to an online, it was actually out of Pasadena, Vision International, also not accredited. But we had two theological degrees. And when Mike said that he wanted to start a church, my response was over my dead body. But he won that argument, and we did start a church. And all we really ever wanted to do was help people. We immediately we went into literally all the world. We built clinics and classrooms we became the sole support of hundreds of children in Uganda that were orphaned by the AIDS epidemic. We ended up helping to buy children out of the sex trade. We worked with a group in Peru and in Mexico, and we were doing all of these trainings and traveling and bringing groups and doing building projects. And all of a sudden it occurred to us, there are people sleeping by our dumpster every night. So we started working with the homeless population locally also. And that was sort of an eye-opener to us. And the city of Tempe had this, that's where our church was in Tempe, Arizona. And they did not want to build a shelter for the growing homeless population. And so we helped organize an interfaith group of congregations that did a mobile shelter. And so the mosque would do it one night, the synagogue would do it the next night, a church would do it the next night, the Buddhist temple would do it the next night. We would get people to the hosting congregation. They got a meal and a breakfast bag in the morning. And we called it I Helped, Interfaith Homeless Emergency Lodging Program. And it was so successful that the city of Tempe took it over and took credit for it, which was fine. It needed to have ongoing funding. But it was, all we really wanted to do was not get involved with all the church politics, but just help people. And because we weren't part of a denomination, and always the needs were always so urgent. Always so urgent. It was life and death when it's in other nations. We didn't have a retirement. And so when my dad passed away, we bought a home. And then we leveraged that home to buy 3 other properties. And, because it was the safest investment, real estate was the safest investment. And then in 2008, when the financial bubble burst and Phoenix and Las Vegas were hit the hardest, we lost all 3 of the properties and eventually our home. And it triggered a mental health crisis for my husband. People don't understand mental illness. And people couldn't handle it. And so we lost our church. And we lost our friends, and we had lost our home. And so we moved to California on borrowed money to come out because I had a job at the Westside Coalition. And we were old. I mean, it was a terrible time to be starting over. But we came out here, and 7 years later, we have the most incredible church. I have the most incredible job. We are living literally at the beach. We love our lives. We are, getting better every single day. And so the thing that gives me the most hope is that even when you go through the most devastating things, when things that you never planned would happen, we are resilient. We are simply a resilient species. And the resilience of who we are, whether it's my family or whether it's anybody that's in Mount Olive or those living on the streets, there is a resilience that defines us. And that's the thing that gives me hope. Because who would have thought once we lost literally everything, that we would be where we are today?
Thank you, Darci. Thank you for sharing that part of your life. And I am grateful every day that you are part of this community, that you're part of the Mount Olive community, that you're part of my staff team here, and also more importantly, that the work that you've been able to do with the coalition, the work we're able to do together, and touching so many people's lives with hope and love. And it seems that's our calling by God too, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Well, we can't end on a better note than that. So thank you. Thank you to our guests today on Hope Matters, Darci Niva, the Executive Director of the Westside Coalition for Hunger, Health, and Homelessness, and also a member of our congregation, Mount Olive Lutheran Church here in Santa Monica. This is Hope Matters, a weekly look at what brings hope to our lives in these turbulent times. I'm Pastor Eric Schaefer. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.